Hey YouTube, Bob here. Welcome to World of Nintendo. I've got a lot more content like this on the way, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment to let me know what you think. Here we go. This final edition of the first-party Nintendo Player's Guides playlist is going to be a little bit different because there's only one guide to take a look at. The 2006 guide for Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And 2006, of course, marks the release of that game for both the Wii and the Nintendo GameCube. This guide brandishes the Wii logo, but it does also say that GameCube coverage is also included. But the year 2006 also marked the point at which Nintendo passed on the responsibilities of publishing their in-house magazine, Nintendo Power, to Future Publishing. And that meant that since Nintendo was no longer handling Nintendo Power, the creator of their player's guides, they needed to pass the publishing of those onto a different company. And that company would be Prima, or Prima. I think it's Prima Games. And ever since then, Prima has been responsible for publishing Nintendo player's guides. To this day, I believe, the publication of this video in the year 2021, but perhaps not. It's been a while since I've looked for guides, paper guides. The last one that I know that they released was for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Switch, the new version for it. So there are fewer and fewer guides being produced because, well, the internet. But what Prima Games usually does is they will make a standard version of the guide, and then they will make a hardcover collector's or deluxe edition. And this Twilight Princess Zelda game got the same treatment. The only difference is that Nintendo published the standard kind of paperback version of the game, and then game guide, and then Prima actually published the hardcover collector's edition here, which I have. Mine is still sealed, so I won't be breaking the seal on this guide, but I do have the same version of the guide that came with the Prima Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition guides box set that came in the treasure chest. So we'll be taking a look at those towards the end of this video, or at least this open version of the collector's edition of the guide. But for now, let's take a look and see what the standard Nintendo published version has to offer. And it's quite the deluxe treatment, in my opinion. You've got kind of a foil cover here. Very nice artwork. Got the cover here with Link and his wolf form. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, official guide from Nintendo Power, and this would be the very last one. Complete Wii and Nintendo GameCube version coverage, plus giant collectible poster inside. Then the official Nintendo Player's Guide. So we've got that information on the spine, and then Unleash the Beast. Don't let creatures of the Twilight Realm drive you howling mad. Use the official Nintendo Player's Guide to ward off the darkness and become the hero of the biggest Zelda adventure yet. Complete walkthrough, maps, boss slaying strategies, and of course the lists for finding all the heart container pieces, insect and pose soul collectibles. Plus, again, just a little note, the giant collectible poster inside, and then the Nintendo official seal of quality there. So as we crack this guide open, we've got some of that beautiful Twilight Princess art here. I always found that interesting that since Wind Waker received such backlash for the cartoony cel-shaded graphics, they did a complete 180 here with Twilight Princess and gave it the more adult type of artistic styling. But we've got kind of a staff list here. Contents. Got an introduction here, walkthrough of the areas: Forest Temple, Lakebed Temple, Goron Mines, Arbiter's Ground, Snow Peak Ruins, Palace of Twilight, Temple of Time, Hyrule Castle, City in the Sky. So that creates composes the bulk of the guide here. Then we've got the Adventure Appendix, where you're going to get your lists of where to find all the collectibles. We've got Pieces of Heart, Pose Souls, Golden Bugs, Howling Stones, Upgrades, Cave of Ordeals, and Diversions. Nintendo GameCube version, it looks like there's a separate section here, so it deals with the controls and the maps. And remember, the hand in which Link held his sword had to be switched between the two versions, given that you would be having the Wii Remote in your right hand. As we go on here, we got the story. Beautiful art. Take control. Nunchuck in the left hand, Wii Remote in the right. This game would have benefited greatly from Wii Motion Plus, but we wouldn't see that until the Wii U re-release. Yeah, lots of diagrams for how to use the controls. Wii Remote and Nunchuck combination. How to control the wolf form of Link. Tools of the trade. So many cool items and weapons in this game. Different shields. Get into collectibles here. Just a brief overview and then how to use the guide. Then we get into each section. Forest Temple here, nice cover page with beautiful artwork. So we'll take a look at how they outline this for Forest Temple, then we'll take a look at the artwork and cover pages for each of the subsequent sections. So we've got Ordona Province here, got some overview maps, kind of an activity list of things that you'll do in the area. Move on to the next province. It's nice to have the overview map here, even though you had it on screen, a little bit bigger here. And the points of interest, of course, are numbered, and then you can read the corresponding blurb about it and see the pictures. Twilight Castle. Second part for Ordona Province. Farron Woods. So yeah, just a list of all the steps you'll take, things you'll do. A little bit more of a detailed map here about this particular portion of the extermination. And then we've got the first dungeon here, the Forest Temple. Very detailed map, numbered points of interest and things to do. Boomerangs, what you'll collect here. And then, of course, the strategy for the boss in that dungeon. So there's the first area. Next one, onto Goron Mines. Very cool artwork. And following Goron Mines, we've got Arbiter's Grounds. And following Arbiter's Grounds, we've got Snow Peak Ruins. And after Snow Peak Ruins, City in the Sky. Following City of the Sky, Palace of Twilight. And Hyrule Castle. And that brings us to the Adventure Appendix, where we're going to see all the lists for the collectibles and stuff. Got the Pieces of Heart. Lots of pages for collecting your Pieces of Heart. The Poe Souls. Golden Bugs. Howling Stones. Upgrades in Cave of Ordeals. Then other diversions before getting into the Nintendo GameCube version here. Let's see what they have to say about the Nintendo GameCube. So you've got your control cubed, showing you how the buttons were mapped on the GameCube controller. And this is the poster here that again is held in the guide by 2 points of perforation here. So unfortunately it's impossible to completely open it up and show you. But I'll do my best here with this photograph. And then continuing on, we got more of the control scheme for the GameCube controller. And then just how the maps were modified. The GameCube version of Twilight Princess is just as vast as its Wii counterpart. Use the overworld maps to navigate Hyrule's fields and locate hidden items like Pieces of Heart. So just some of those minor variations here. I played the Wii version, not the GameCube version, so I'm not really privy to what all of those variations might be. But very big maps here on these pages. And the dungeon maps. Use the following maps to locate every dungeon in the GameCube version of Twilight Princess and find the essential items within each. Yeah, Goron Mines, Lakebed Temple, Arbiter's Ground, Snow Peak Ruins, Temple of Time, City in the Sky, Palace of Twilight, and Hyrule Castle. And then finally locations of some of those collectibles. And then map key for all the maps that you've just seen. So this is interesting here. Looking at these new editions of Nintendo Power, these definitely look like the ones that were future US published, at least to my recollection. The future US published guides had a little bit of a different look. Is there any mention of that here? Be more powerful. No, they're not mentioning that the publisher is changing. But that was the case with this particular guide. So Nintendo published the standard version, and then Prima Games published the collector's edition. So like I said, I have two versions of the collector's edition. This one that came with the Prima treasure chest box set of Legend of Zelda guides. It had been released to that point, but this was the original standalone retail copy that launched around the same time in stores as this standard version. But this one says new content, expanded legendary checklists, and then when twilight threatens, Prima guides the way. New content, legendary checklists expanded, all collectibles listed for quick reference and location, includes cloth overworld map. A lot of these guides, these Prima Collector's Edition guides, did include some sort of map that was on cloth. Unfortunately, those were not reproduced for the special editions included with the treasure chest box set. But you did get the guide still. It says the complete Twilight Princess information compendium, exclusive maps, and then of course the list of all the collectibles. And then pretty much the same content as this original Nintendo published guide. But one other minor variation that we would see between the two Prima Collector's Editions is the original was just a little bit bigger. If I put the box set version on top here, we can see that the original collector's edition, well, that's about a ½ an inch more depth than the redone version for the box set. And that's kind of because these original guides, they were all different sizes, very similar in size, but they weren't all exactly the same size. So in order to get the collector's editions to fit in that box set, of course they all needed to be the same size. So that's kind of a change that they made there. But one of the features of both of these is that the pages, the edges of the pages are gold. Kind of a nice touch there. But as we open this up, not seeing as much as the artwork here. The author bio, so this looks like it was actually different. It wasn't just the Nintendo guide in a different packaging here. This one actually, just by gauging by the thickness of the book, it goes into quite a bit more depth than the one that we just took a look at. But missing some of the art here. I really like those big blown up pieces of art. So training, links, moves, and abilities. So not even a table of contents necessarily here starting off. Kind of interesting. Let's see if we eventually will get that. Going through your wolf form. Just kind of an introduction here. Training. Getting ready for Twilight Princess. Weapons and equipment. Huge compendium of all of those things. Friends and fiends. All the characters. Friends and foes. I wonder if that was an intentional difference. The introduction to this section says friends and fiends, but then it changes to friends and foes. Very detailed information. Yeah, the Nintendo version did not go into this much detail about all of the different enemies and their weak points and the threat meter. That's kind of a neat touch there. So how to use this walkthrough. Here we go. This is kind of like the introduction to use the guide. Not a table of contents necessarily. Maybe that's still coming up. that's kind of neat. In the upper left-hand corner here, it lets you know how many heart container pieces you could have by that point. The overworld denizens. So yeah, quite a bit more detail here. I'm missing the art, like I said, but this presentation along the edges here is beautiful. Very nice. Quite a different experience with this guide here. So don't worry, I didn't rip anything. We're getting into the point now where I haven't gone through these pages, and what the gold leafing or edging, it kind of holds them together. So you have to kind of peel them apart your first time going through. So this is a huge guide, not quite as easily gone through section by section as the other one. So I'm just going to open it up at various points and see how things change, because we're getting kind of a similar aesthetic on each page here. Let's see if the color scheme changes at all if we go about a quarter of the way through the book. No, not ready. Take a look at this. Look at all these pages here. We're only to the Forest Temple, the temple of this first area here. So very interesting. Let's go about 2/3 of the way through the book, maybe a little bit more. Nope, Goron Mines looks pretty much the same here. About halfway through, journey through Lanayru province. Yeah, not too much is different as far as the aesthetic goes, but you see the heart container count going up there. How many you could have by that point. Going here. Thorough explorations and saving the Zora Prince. Lakebed Temple, again hitting another temple. Step-by-step instructions. Kind of funny how these pages are fanning up because they're stuck together at certain intervals. And it is certain intervals they're stuck together at. So yeah, this guide is definitely very different. Before I sat down to do this this video, I thought that it was pretty much just the same guide as the original Nintendo Power published one, just in a different kind of packaging and with some bonus material, but that's not the case here. A very, very different guide, and it goes into a lot more detail here. When I first played through this game, it was on the Wii, and it was using the Nintendo Power published guide. But yeah, pretty much a similar aesthetic throughout the entire guide here. But unfortunately, like I said, this box set edition does not contain that cloth map like the original box set edition did. And so there you have it. That is the final first-party Nintendo Player's Guide edition for this playlist here. Like I said, only one first-party Nintendo Power Player's Guide produced in 2006 for the Wii, and it would be the final one before passing off that publishing duty to Prima Games. So I hope you enjoyed this video and this series. That does conclude First Party Nintendo Player's Guide. So no voting, nothing more to look at here. But if you haven't seen some of the previous editions, I invite you to check out that playlist. And definitely stay tuned to World of Nintendo for lots more content that I have coming. Take care.